Hey everyone, how's it going? Movie licensed games have a reputation of being terrible. But what if I told you there were 3 games that were pretty darn good, albeit have a very well-earned reputation of being brutally difficult? You would have the very first game I ever played, or at least one of them is, the Super Star Wars series. And I have wanted to make a video on this series since literally 2009, and I'm so glad I'm finally able to tell you both how hard this series is, but how amazing it is. And I'm going to do it in the classic J-Rose style, taking you level by level, world by world, and I think you're going to be blown away by how great these games are. I mean, already for 1992, this looks fantastic, but now let's get to the gameplay. Alright, so I'm going to make something clear. Obviously, being a side-scrolling Super Nintendo game, it's not going to be a one-to-one recreation of the movie. This is supposed to be the part of the movie where I think Luke is going to either find R2 or even going to buy the droids. I'm not actually exactly sure, but yeah, like in the early YouTube days, people used to always be like, this wasn't in the movie, but like, of course, they're going to have to take creative liberties. So this is a classic side-scrolling shooter game. Luke can jump, and Luke can shoot. He can also move, but he can't move and shoot at the same time, which is why you'll notice I stop a lot, and eventually you'll notice me jumping and shooting. Why can't you move and shoot? I don't know, you can in the next game, but in this game, you can't. Now, there are a bunch of enemies. There are birds and scorpions. Guess they're kind of like mini pterodactyls. Pretty easy stuff. This level isn't really too difficult and just introduces you to the physics engine, which by the way gets even better. You'll notice that pretty much every time you kill an enemy, you get a heart, which is in this case health, if you came from my Castlevania video. But we're gonna skip ahead a little bit. This level is literally just a flat 2D plane. I mean, there are some hills, but we're gonna get this power up. So you have 2 weapons in this game, the gun and eventually the lightsaber. I would call it the blaster, but this weapon has 5 different progressive modes, meaning it gets better and better, in theory. The first is the blaster, which you saw took several shots to kill enemies. Now we have the flame, which only takes 1, although these are weaker enemies. I actually think if I kill enough of these guys, by the way, you get another upgrade, and that's correct. See, I've played these games before, and this is upgrade 3, the Seeker. The Seeker, I don't know if it's more powerful than the flame, but it hones in on enemies. So it's awesome, and you always want to use the Seeker. I mean, there is 2 better guns, and the 5th one is super, super strong, but like, who needs to aim anymore? Now all I gotta do is just jump, and as long as there aren't too many enemies on screen, I'm gonna do great. So yeah, this level is really boring, and even a 4-year-old could beat it. Although, I'll admit, I did not play this game when I was 4. Eventually, you're gonna make it to the first boss, and most levels end with a boss. Now, the Sarlacc pit monster is kind of annoying. I'm not actually sure how you're supposed to beat it. I've always just gone with kneel and shoot, but like, it hits me a bunch, so I'm not really sure if I'm doing the right thing here. I don't really know. I've never known how to beat this thing. For the record, if you use the flame, which when I first played this game back in like 2006, is what I used to have to do, it's kind of iffy because of the projectiles it can spit at you, but still very doable. So after we beat the level, we actually see that in this universe, C-3PO, we see him by his ship, and in fact, we have to go and find R2, so they changed the story a little bit. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Now, one of the things that makes these games so cool is the varied gameplay, and this is a speeder section. Now, these only appear in this game, and they're not the best. See, in this telling of the story, Luke decides that the best way to negotiate with the Jawas is by firing blueberries at them, and you have to do that at 12 Jawas. Now, the driving controls are very, very strange. If you press up on the D-pad, you would think that you would be moving forward. But if you notice, I actually start tilting downward when I press up. So you kind of have to press side to side and like zigzag a bit to actually be able to not have your nose in the ground and therefore be able to shoot the Jawas. It's very strange. Every time you kill a Jawa, you get health, which is kind of nice. And you can also get fuel. Now, I haven't actually used any fuel or much of it yet, and you'll see what happens. I'm actually going to fast forward a bit to once you kill the last Jawa. We're going to press B to use our fuel, and watch what happens here. The jets turn on, and now we're going to be pressing up plus B, and we can just speed all the way to the Sandcrawler. Now, does this hold up super great today? Not exactly, but at the same time, it's really freaking cool. All right, this level really sucks, and this is where, if you're playing this game for the first time, you're gonna get stuck. Why? Because the platforming in this game, it's not terrible, but it takes some getting used to. So, we're gonna destroy all these vent things, and how do I explain platforming here? It's one of those things you just kind of have to experience. The platforms don't have a ton of leeway, but you don't have to land dead center. And if you press jump plus up, you get a better jump. You'll also notice I still have the Seeker, so you get to keep your gun upgrades, but I don't want to collect the Rapid Ion. Of course, I thought it disappeared, but it didn't. This is the Rapid Ion. It shoots really quickly, and you don't even have to press the button many times. You just have to hold the button, which is kind of cool, and it just rapid fires. Now, you can see here, I'm really struggling to line up my jump with the platform, and this is just one of those things that if you play this game, you're going to have to get used to. I will tell you, this is way better in the other two games. Specifically, Return of the Jedi has really improved the platforming control. You'll also notice that enemies in these games, not all the time, but a lot of the time, do respawn infinitely. So that's annoying. But yeah, this level, I mean, I'm not going to do a full walkthrough of this game. It's more of a review than a walkthrough. But this level is really going to test with the moving platforms, and this is why you want the Seeker gun. For the record, if you die just a single time, you go all the way back to the blaster. And this is a really devastating thing to have happen. And I think I do have some footage from like 2009, because this again is one of those games where the rich get richer. Having a good gun, even the Rapid Ion, which I hate, it just, being able to kill everything in one hit is so nice. I mean, these vent things I think always die in one hit, but the Jawas just, I mean, I guess you just knock them off screen. You don't really kill them. It's kind of nice. Anyway, you know what? I'll speed this up because we're actually almost at the end. And then you have to make this kind of precise jump. And now these turrets. Just run. Do not try to fight the turrets. No, what are you doing, J-Rose? Do not fight the turrets. These turrets deal a lot of damage. You'll also notice that there are hidden objects in the sky. And if you shoot the sky, you can get these hidden objects. Unfortunately, remember how I said run, do not shoot the turrets, run, well, unfortunately I didn't listen initially, and now you're going to see what happens as a result. Now, thankfully, there is a checkpoint here, so I don't have to do the entire level again. What is hilarious about this checkpoint is I want you to see how much longer the level is. There's a reason I haven't made a cut here. I think there's actually an extra blaster somewhere. There it is. I remembered that. Yeah, that's the level. Why is there a checkpoint 90% of the way into the level? But this is the one. That last level is going to test your platforming. This level is going to test your patience. So this level, thankfully we have the flame, and man, the flame is better. Always want the flame. I will try to show you as many of these hidden blasters as I can, but the truth is, oh yeah, the wall things, these are annoying. And the Seeker doesn't hone in on them. Isn't that great? Isn't that amazing? Although I have the flame right now. By the way, if you press L or R, you can look up and down. So yeah, this is the first level that has, oh yeah, I should explain what the lightsabers do. Stop interrupting me, J-Rose gameplay. This level, just like the last, incorporates horizontal and vertical movement, but less platforming. The lightsabers, by the way, do not give you a lightsaber, they're just health upgrades. And this is one of the few blasters that are just out in the open. The health upgrades are great because upgrading your max health, since there are hearts everywhere, is just so overpowered, and it makes some bosses really easy. But you're about to see the part that really just drives me nuts. We're almost there. We're so close. Just gotta get a couple more Jawas. Also notice that there is a timer, by the way, in the top right. This is the only game with that. All right, so I've gotten better at this, so I have to resort to using the oldest footage, the second oldest footage I have saved. It looks like it. So if you combine B, the jump button, with diagonal, you do a slide, which is the only way to get past these gate things. And I've gotten way better even back then, but this takes so much getting used to, you have no idea. You'll see that in this playthrough, I actually have the plasma rifle, and you can see just each plasma shot does 1 damage, which is pretty good. Going back to my original playthrough I was showing you, you can see that the gate activates if you get too close, and yeah, the slide is the only way to get fast enough. Thankfully, I've memorized where exactly I need to stand, and it's just a matter of hitting the combination. Still, I fail it occasionally. But yeah, you can see how much easier it is, A, with the Seeker, because I don't actually have to aim at these turret things, and B, with the extra health. But if you thought our sliding was done, nope, there are mashers now, and they're not one-hit kills, but they can drain your life pretty quickly. So you gotta do a slide and then release it, and then do a slide and release it. You're gonna get really good at this mechanic that is never used again. Seriously, I think you can do this in all 3 of these games, and this is the only level I can really think of where it's absolutely mandatory. Just weird, really weird. Anyway, there are a few more sections to go, and then you encounter a mini-boss. With the Seeker, the mini-boss is pretty easily, and unfortunately, I collect the Rapid Ion, but that's okay. You can notice the Rapid Ion actually bounces off walls. And then we're gonna get a whole bunch of health, which should tell you something about what's about to happen, because as soon as we fall, by the way, hold right here, that's insta-kill. And yeah, this entire floor is now insta-kill lava, so don't fall in. And oh, those like, I don't know, fire centipedes? Well, it might not be as bad as Castlevania. You do get pushed when you get hit, so yeah, best not to get hit. So the Rapid Ion's gonna make what we're about to do really difficult, and you're gonna have to just really look at where you are. You wanna be right dead center in the platform. This is Lava Beast Jowenko. He is the worst boss in the entire series. He doesn't have a lot of health, but you just have to fire at him. That's why they gave you so much health. He's gonna push you, the lava things are gonna push you, and so you wanna be careful that you're not getting pushed too far to the left, too far to the right. You beat him, and you're gonna think it's over. You just stand there, and I've died here before, by the way, but no, you gotta do a few more jumps to R2. I have died. You know how long it's taken me to beat him, like my first few times? Stupid game. I love it. By the way, not all these videos are gonna have ancient J-Rose footage, but it is really helpful to show you, like here, that these games are a lot more difficult than I sometimes make them look, and that 14 years of experience can help you. Unfortunately, as far as I know, that means we have to beat both the mini-boss and the boss with suboptimal weapons, but look at this cool strat where you can just shoot off the wall and kill the mini-boss. It's really dumb, and it's not actually that effective. Now we have the flame, and for the record, you can, as long as you manage your spacing, win with the flame, thanks to these health swords. So the game did anticipate that Lava Beast Jowenko would be just a who dies first type thing. You can see I've died too many times. I always hold right there. But if you can believe it, we're almost halfway through the game. This one isn't very long. Going back to Glorious HD, this stage is not very memorable. I mean, one thing that's kind of weird are these enemies where when you kill them, they leave behind this goopy residue, which is kind of funny. But there's also these platforms that will break away, so you just kind of have to be a little careful. But otherwise, there's really nothing too interesting going on here. Basically, you just have to kill enemies, go left, go right, go down. Then you get to this auto-scroll section where some of the rocks fall, some of them don't, and it's hard to tell which one's going to do which. This is where L and R are going to really help you, and again, this is where you have to keep in mind enemies do change your position, so make sure you get rid of all of them. There's a bit of a blind jump right here that I've always kind of hated, and yeah, I actually just let the auto-scroll push me. Funny enough, I checked what I did in my older playthrough where I was more practiced, and yeah, you just jump blindly. Kind of lame, but now we get to the next level. All right, this is our first level with the lightsaber, and you're about to see why the lightsaber is pretty awful. It isn't particularly strong, and you can't really move while swinging it, and it is not a very long-range attack. So, as much as it'd be cool to use a lightsaber, they didn't really make it all that functional. And especially with the plasma rifle, the best gun, there's just no reason to use it. Why would I use something weaker? Like, look, it takes 2 hits to kill them, and you can do this cool circle of death thing, which is kind of nice, and you can slash up and you can slash all over. But yeah, I mean, look how quick we killed that bantha. Oh yeah, also you kill some banthas. Oh yeah, I guess these are technically mini bosses? Kind of interesting. By the way, sometimes the game decides you can't go left anymore, and sometimes you can go back. It's kind of strange, but anyway, these banthas can deal a lot of damage, so it's best just to kill them before they charge. Sometimes easier said than done. If you want to see what the lightsaber is like against the banthas, I mean, you can see it's kind of a poor idea because you have to get right close to them, and this is why the banthas give you so much. But at the end of that section, you just have to make another blind jump. Thankfully, this one is fairly safe. And look, there's an arrow telling you where to go. It's so weird. Every time that throws me off that there's an arrow. By the way, the Vader masks give you more points. I think with a certain number of points, you get an extra life. This is a good time to mention there are 2 other random power-ups you can get other than the Vader mask. By the way, see, I can't go back left. Actually, I have to defeat this mutant womp rat. Now, this is actually a really, really interesting example of the game wanting you to do something and me having no idea. So the plasma is super duper strong and it's doing like nothing, and I'm just getting really frustrated. And while the smaller, apparently womp rats are giving me some health, this is taking forever. Why is this taking so long? I get really close, but I lose, and I kind of realized what I was probably supposed to do. Now with the Seeker, you can actually cheese this boss by shooting upwards. You can actually get, because every time you hit the womp rat, it jumps backwards. So you can actually get it stuck. And although you'll lose some health, you can kind of, if you space it well enough, just outside the reach of his claw, you're hitting it too often for it to jump at you. And although it takes forever, you can beat it like that. And that's what I used to do in the past. But finally in the year 2025, I figured out what the game actually wants me to do, which I probably could have realized way earlier because of course this is what it wants me to do. So you know in this level we got a shiny new weapon, the lightsaber? Well yeah, turns out the lightsaber does a ton of damage to the womp rat. And yeah, that's what the game wanted me to do. This is the only boss I can think of where the lightsaber does significantly more damage. But yeah, kind of cool I figured that out, but in the past I've always just cheesed it. So nice to figure out the real strat. All right, so the next stage I'm actually going to skip because you've already seen this pretty much exact same thing. It is nice in varying the level type, but there is really not much difference between this section and the previous one. It's the exact same type of driving, so we're going to skip to the next level, which is Mos Eisley. So this Mos Eisley section has multiple paths, as you're going to see, and you get to fight stormtroopers. That's kind of cool. You also get the iconic Star Wars crates. Love those crates. But yeah, you can do the kind of spinning thing, which is way better in the next game. And, oh, am I going to use the thermal detonator? No, I guess I forgot to use it. It's just, it wipes the whole screen. Doesn't really work well against bosses, though. You also can get shields randomly. See how I'm flashing? Enemies drop those. It gives you, like, I don't know, about 5 seconds or so of invincibility. Now, you might be like, oh no, spikes, what do I do? Oh, there's the thermal detonator. The spikes just deal damage. It is a little hard to tell in this game what is going to one-shot you and what is going to just damage you. By the way, what we're supposed to do is wait for those barrels, and then look at this. It's fun. I mean, also, like, how did I jump onto the diagonal one? That doesn't make sense because of physics, but whatever, it's fun. And now I have the Seeker. This level, there's not really that much to say about it. It's kind of a little long, to be honest with you. And you can kind of go the high route and the low route, and the low route has spikes. But yeah, realistically, there's not much more to say about it. It's actually quite a long level, by the way, but not very difficult. And then we get to Chewbacca. Now here is where this game does something interesting. We can choose between 2 different characters. We can be Luke, or we can be Chewie. Be Chewie. Chewie is just Luke, but better. Chewie starts with the flame as opposed to the blaster, and Chewie has more health. So there's no reason not to always just pick Chewie. Yeah, Luke does have the lightsaber, but the lightsaber is about as strong as flame, which is what Chewie starts with, so yeah. Also, Chewie gets to keep whatever weapon we already had, and in our case, it was the plasma. And you'll notice this is kind of a quote-unquote beat-em-up segment, where we have to kill all the enemies, and then the game will let us scroll forward. Kind of interesting. I mean, it really doesn't feel that much different than the other sections, but like, I really enjoy the fact the game is trying to vary itself up as much as possible. Okay, so this boss, I'm gonna be real with you, I have no idea how you're supposed to beat it. I literally have never figured this out. I have been able to beat it with the plasma and just shoot it a bunch of times, but I have absolutely never figured out another consistent way of beating him. I went and looked at my older footage, and once again I have plasma, which obviously raises a very important question. What if I didn't? Like, with the plasma gun, I can just stand here getting hit, and while he does a lot of damage, I will always out-damage him. And there's good news, even if you start from just the flame gun at the beginning of the level, once you get to the Kalar boss monster, you will always have the plasma. However, what happens if you somehow screw up, and you just don't deal enough damage, or maybe you came in a little injured, and you die to the boss? Well, that's where things get, bad. So, the checkpoint is right before the boss, which is really nice, so you don't have to do much. And you always get a gun upgrade, which is also really nice. But the gun, the Seeker, while theoretically useful, it's not great against the Kalar boss monster. And you can see I'm trying to execute what I think the actual strategy is, but I do very little damage, while he does a lot of damage. And there's no way to increase my health, and there's no way to increase my damage. I thought maybe using Luke was the key, but like, no, I couldn't even hit him as Luke. I don't know where the hitbox is as Luke, but it's not on the head. In this attempt, you can see I'm really close, trying to jump over his attacks, but no, with like 20% of his health left, I ran out and I got a game over, which might be a good thing, because usually when you get a game over, you lose your checkpoint. Well, as I pick Chewbacca, you're gonna see, not in this game. I mean, typically that's actually a good thing, that you get to keep your checkpoints, you get infinite attempts of the boss. But when the boss is so difficult and you're not allowed to backtrack, which, as you can see by the structure of this stage, you can't go left. These enemies don't respawn. You have these enemies, and you have the Seeker, and that's it. So what am I trying to do here? What is the actual strategy? Well, it seems like you're kind of supposed to bully this guy a bit. Like, you can notice that when I jump towards him, he kind of jumps backwards. But like, not always. I'm not exactly sure how this exactly works. And I'll be honest with you, it would take me a really long time to actually get a victory. But I do. But what if, let's say I didn't, and I lost all my lives? Well, this is the one reason I have trouble recommending this game. You game over completely, and there's nothing you can do. The next two games have a password system, which would have been awesome to use because we could have gone back to the beginning of that level and got ourselves the plasma, but this game offers no legitimate way of getting your progress back. Now, as you can tell, there's a caveat. There is a quote-unquote illegitimate way to do it. Like many older games, there are button combinations you can press on the title to cheat, and these have to be pressed very quickly. The one I knew as a kid was pressing A 4 times, then X, B 4 times, then Y, X 4 times, then A, and then Y 4 times, then B, but it's really hard to do, and if you screw up even a little bit, you have to reset the console and try again. I used a different cheat that you're seeing right now, where I pressed AY, AY, XB, XB, XB. It's a quicker, easier combination to do quickly and not screw up. And this one allows for the second player controller. You need a second controller. When I press start, then I just go to the next level, which is how I got back here to record this part, because I really did want to show you the strategic method to beating this boss. So I've already talked about what you're supposed to do, but I haven't really done it effectively. And for the record, I think this is my first time ever actually beating the boss without having to use a code to get back to that level and get plasma. So you just have to be super mega aggressive. Like, and I mean just like keep jumping towards him. Never stop. It's so weird. And the fact you cannot both shoot and walk makes it really awkward. But you can see I'm really just bullying him into a corner and then kind of jumping away until finally I lowered him to enough HP I could just stand and finish him off. This took about 18 minutes to do. I have a feeling I'm still missing something because it shouldn't be this difficult. I'm curious how, well, speedrunners probably just use the plasma. So I have no idea how you would do this with like the flame or something. I'd love to see someone do that. But we're going to move on to the next stage, Escape from Mos Eisley. Now, on the surface, this looks like the last Mos Eisley stage, but it's way more annoying. There's a lot more spikes. You're going to want to use the upper path. But the thing is, there are these guys who shoot from windows. And remember, unlike the last level, everything respawns. And so it's really hard to get up these windows. I just kept getting knocked down over and over and over again. It was really frustrating, to be perfectly honest with you. Otherwise, this level really isn't actually that interesting. The maintenance droid is pretty easy. He just kind of flies and then tries to hit you, like dash at you. And honestly, he doesn't actually do that much damage, and you can do a ton of damage to it. Well, it turns out he's not actually the final boss. He's just the mini boss, and this section really sucks. So see these flashing things? Those are mines, and they explode, and they don't just explode, their shrapnel goes everywhere. So I have to avoid shrapnel, and there are these claws, and when they explode, there's also shrapnel. Oh my god, this level is actually brutal, and it's really easy to lose lives. Also, these robot things, shrapnel. There's shrapnel frickin' everywhere. And of course, although the mines don't respawn, oh yeah, electric thingies coming from the sky, the claw. Oh, it didn't grab me there. I had to look ahead. Yes, I did die in this level. It is very easy to die. You need to be, I mean, look, those lightning things come out of nowhere. Claws, stormtroopers, and everything takes like 1,000,000 hits. I mean, the plasma made it easy, but the plasma doesn't help your defense, and just there's shrapnel. Oh, it sucks so much, but you can get the Seeker upgrade. But realistically, this level's just about being really slow and careful, which you guys know I'm really bad at. And it took me, it's not a quick level. It is a long, long level, especially because when you finally kill an enemy, that enemy is still a threat, and then it respawns instantly. It's really annoying, but you can finally get to the main boss, the Hover Combat Carrier. Now, the Seeker is actually a bit of a detriment here because it doesn't actually seek properly. So this is the first time I don't recommend it. Unfortunately, the checkpoint is really far away from the boss. A whole 5 steps. But yeah, the flame gun's a little bit better because I can actually control where it's hitting. Now, everything is damaging you, but I don't even know the first thing you want to damage. There's cannons on the front, cannons on the rear, fire thingies, and you can see I'm using my slide. I mean, there's not a lot of health, but I haven't even done any damage. This boss is both easier and harder than the last one. Not the maintenance droid, the other actual last one. And you can see, you're probably supposed to slide under, and I'm trying to get rid of this really annoying turret thing on the bottom, but he just keeps moving, and it took me forever to kind of figure out how I'm supposed to move. Like, there's no safe spot, right? Like, this corner, it's not safe. Safe-ish, but not safe. So what do you do? Well, let me show you. So the first thing you want to do is get into a slide and get underneath, as I did. You're just going to want to keep ducked, though, and stay still. It seems counterintuitive, and you're going to get hit, but honestly, you're going to destroy the turret the quickest possible way by just kind of staying in the middle and not stop firing. So now that I've destroyed the turret, and so now I'm relatively safe. Of course, you have to watch out every time you destroy a piece, more shrapnel. This is the shrapnel stage. But yeah, where I am right now, none of the turrets can currently hit me, but I'm having a little bit of trouble hitting the back one. Once I destroy the front one, I'll move. But yeah, I'm just going to take my time. All right, I destroyed the front one, and now I'm going to move and just try to destroy the back one as quick as possible. I don't mind taking a few hits, but yeah, it's very annoying to hit. Kind of an awkward hitbox, especially with it moving faster back and forth. But if you're kind of patient, you can destroy all the pieces. And then flashing warning, I'm very sorry about this. For the record, I am not speeding up this game in any way. This is the regular speed of the battle. And yeah, I mean, this is lovely. I just kind of gotten used to this, but I can imagine this could be quite jarring to people, so I apologize. I didn't make the game, I'm just playing it. And we don't have many stages left, actually. We have a stage that I used to hate a lot because it requires some actual decent platforming, the Death Star hangar. So here's how the Death Star hangar works. I mean, there's those cute little droids, but you get a gun upgrade right away. You get a thermal detonator. You get a heart, which is useless. Okay, if you press jump plus up and side, you do a big jump. You need to do a big jump over these holes. I have gotten much better at jumping, but you need to practice your big jumps. All right? All right, I'll stop calling them big jumps, but you know what I mean. Oh, I screwed up. Never mind. I didn't practice my big jumps. I'm a big idiot, apparently. But yeah, you can see why this level kind of sucks. There aren't many one-hit KOs in this game or pits, but the fact that we're towards the very end of the game and there are is frustrating. Additionally, randomly, there will be these TIE fighters. Now, this is the reason I'm always going to take the upper path. If you jump up with being up, the TIE fighters don't hit you. If you do not, which I didn't realize in my first few playthroughs, they will eventually just lower your health until you die. Now, the game realizes that it's pretty hard to avoid them because, you know, they're, oh, look, aliens from Alien versus Alien. I mean, what are these things? Like, seriously, they don't look like, I mean, they don't look like aliens from Alien. They kind of look like generic Martians. What are these? The weirdest enemies in this game. But yeah, big jump. Just every single time. And yeah, I mean, now there aren't any TIE fighters coming, but there will be. It's otherwise just a flat level. Enemies come. Oh yeah, another TIE fighter. Oh yeah, these things, they look cute. Not from Star Wars. No idea what they are. I mean, I guess there weren't really that many things to pick from prior to like the prequels and Clone Wars and stuff. I got the rapid eye on. That kind of sucks. But yeah, this is kind of where you really just have to practice your platforming. And I always do hate it when a game right at the end kind of makes you learn its mechanics. Like, you can get away being a pretty awful platformer, but once you get past everything, now there's some stormtroopers. I think they spawn infinitely, so another big jump there. And we're actually going to skip ahead a bit. This level is kind of long, and you've kind of gotten the gist of what we do. So we skipped ahead a little bit. I'm trying to get enough health because I know we're towards the end and a boss is coming. Oh, also, these guys now come out of the holes. They don't stop you from falling, but, you know, they damage you a lot. And that's why you need to destroy them and then try to get as much health. But unfortunately, I didn't realize the boss was right here, the Imperial Defense Droid. I have by far the worst weapon for this. Now, at first, you're like, what the heck am I doing? I'm firing, nothing's happening. But there, our good old slide will help us. And this is cheese. Good job. You just sit in the corner and, oh, maybe it's not cheese. Okay. Oh, wait, never mind. I didn't think it would do that. Okay, wait, why is it moving? It's not supposed to move. Okay. I don't know why sometimes it moves and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, I think this is, so guess semi-cheese. Semi-cheese. But with, like, I guess the plasma. I don't actually know. Truth be told, I could just jump away from these. They don't seem to do all that much. But yeah, I really could. I could also jump like that. Oh, they're seeker missiles. Okay. Well, I guess that's why they don't do very much. Anyway, I actually almost screwed this up right at the end, but wow, that actually could have, wow, could you imagine? I have died after beating boss before. There is a few moments where the weapons can still hit you, but neato. Now, it's weird to think that we're really close to the end of the game because we're just rescuing the princess, which unfortunately you can't play as Leia. But yeah, it's just kind of a weird idea that you rescue the princess right at the end of the game, but pretty much all the major action-y parts, I guess, wouldn't happen there. Oh yeah, these crusher things. So these crusher things are kind of confusing, and there is a way to get by them, but they're not completely obvious. That is the wrong way. I think there's a few ways to do this. The way I like to do it is when the crusher goes back up, slide, then jump. Simple, easy, effective. This level is a very long level, by the way, and it's basically taking place in corridors. There's crushers, there's stormtroopers, there are these spider things that are kind of really annoying, and like, I hope we don't have to see them again. Foreshadowing. But yeah, another crusher. Just wait, patience. Oh yeah, the interrogation droids, they like to appear. If they appear, just wait. Don't get one shot by the crusher. And then yeah, it's literally just slide once and then you can jump away. Pretty easy. Not a ton much else to say about this level. Just knock out enemies. There's some platforming on some like moving platforms, but no pits, no insta-kills, just the crushers. And then we get to the Detention guard boss. Now, I have the Seeker here making this, I guess, harder, to be quite honest with you, because once again, the Seeker gets pretty confused. I mean, I just do what I always do, kneel in the corner, but realistically, this boss is pretty easy. I mean, if you weren't using the Seeker, that attack could have hurt you, but yeah, it's a pretty easy boss. But then it actually becomes a second boss, which doesn't even have a health bar. Okay. Well, then we go to Princess Leia's cell, and that's the end of the level. Nice. And that brings us to the last main level of Super Star Wars, if you can believe it. The Tractor Beam. This is a vertical level that is very irritating if you don't know what you're doing, which I didn't remember what I was supposed to do, so this is a playthrough where I don't know what I'm doing. Or at least initially, I figure it out. Now, you might wonder, okay, where did you go there? I kind of didn't see anywhere to go. The answer is there are these platforms that kind of never sync up where you want them to, which is very irritating. You can see I was trying to avoid the rapid ion. But yeah, these platforms don't really sync up super well unless you know what you're doing. Remember how I mentioned L and R look up and down? Yeah, so you're gonna want to do that a bunch. Because if you don't, sometimes the platforms just kind of pop out of nowhere, and sometimes they just decide they don't feel like showing up for hours on end. One thing about this level that makes it kind of interesting is that there are no checkpoints. Remember, game overing doesn't take away your checkpoints. So yeah, you just start at the very beginning of the level, which is really annoying. But good news, now that isn't the rapid ion gun we get, it's the Seeker, which is way, way better. But sadly, as much as I love talking about this game, there really isn't much to say about this level. You've pretty much seen essentially what you do. You just keep going up and up and up and up. Now, one of the good things about always starting with Chewie is that typically there's one easy to get gun upgrade per level, and that means we get the Seeker, and that means we get to cheese this boss. How do you cheese this boss? Well, let's rewind for a second. Notice that when I jumped on the platform, I don't overjump. I land right there, and then I walk up the slope or jump up it, as opposed to going where the game thinks you're gonna go, and thus the tractor beam doesn't get an opportunity to actually load in its weapons, and so you just win. Now, if you opt to not cheese it, the boss isn't impossible, but it is annoying because the platforms actually get in the way, and it has quite a bit of health. So you're actually, I don't even know what you're meant to do. I clearly don't do it properly here. I guess you're supposed to be going up and down. I don't really know. I don't really care. I'm just gonna casually use the Seeker, which again, is always in this level with Chewbacca or Han. And I have deactivated the tractor beam with weapons. And we've made it to the actual last level of the game. I'm sorry. I know I said this was the last level, but what I meant was this was the last non-ship level. We now have one of many video game adaptations of the trench run. Actually, we don't yet. We have the pre-trench run. So this is actually really difficult. You're constantly being pushed forward and you're moving really fast, and you're supposed to destroy 16 TIE fighters and 16 towers. Now, I'll be really honest with you. I have no earthly idea what I'm doing, because you can't like actually move around like you could in the speeder levels. You're just kind of like a rail shooter going forward, and you can move left and right, but like still you're accelerating so fast. I mean, you can see how it just looks. It feels very weird to play. And it doesn't also feel fair when you get hit because it's not even clear what's hitting me when it does. And unlike other levels, there are 0 health power-ups. So you just have to fire and hope you destroy enough things. And of course, in this case, I don't. The strat I like to use is wiggling. So I don't go too far left and right. I just kind of wiggle and try to stay in a very narrow range of like land, I guess. I don't even, you know what I mean? Like I'm just trying to kind of stay. And if there's a lot of enemies, I avoid them by going up. But to be quite honest with you, I have no idea if I'm hitting anything, what I'm hitting. I'm just doing what I do, and it takes a really long time. There is no multiple phases of this too. I don't know if it actually loops, but like, you know what I mean? It feels like it loops until you knock out all the ties and all the towers. And I just try to destroy everything I can. And it took me forever to get the last TIE fighter. But eventually, and you can see how little health I have, well, come on. I mean, seriously, and I almost had 0 health remaining, but somehow, by the miracle of the Force, I found a TIE fighter and destroyed it off screen, I guess. Now we have the actual trench run. Now, this trench run is not what you think. It's shooting tomatoes and turning them into blueberries. So see those tomatoes on screen? Your only job, don't worry about the TIE fighters. Just, I mean, destroy them if you can, but your biggest threat are the tomatoes, which is, you know, their shots, I guess. Now, when I first played this, I had no idea. I lost a million times because I didn't realize you could shoot these down. But yeah, you only have, what is it, like 10 hits? But you can see it's really easy if you kind of ignore the actual fighters and just destroy their shots. Counterintuitive as heck. But wait, it gets even better. I'm gonna keep with you this whole trench run, by the way. It's a cool scene. I mean, this looks amazing. Let's be clear, I don't know how much this holds up, but in 1992, this must have been absolutely surreal to play on your Super Nintendo. I mean, there's like the arcade game, I guess, but this was at home, like truly amazing. Darth Vader, by the way, appears, and you just kind of shoot him a bunch. You gotta make sure you get rid of him. But once you get to about 1,000, the enemies disappear. Eventually, Obi-Wan says, use the Force, Luke, and then you have to press L and R. Nothing tells you to do this. If you don't do it, you lose. But if you press L and R at the same time, you win. By the way, my first time playing this game, which I don't have footage of, I had no idea, and I was really mad. But that's it. That is Super Star Wars. As the credits roll, here are my thoughts on this game I've played since I was 13 years old. Super Empire since I was 5. I really want to talk about that game, but one at a time. This game has its issues. The lack of infinite continues or a password system really is a problem. Yeah, you got the debug code, but that bothers me. Not being able to shoot while walking is annoying. The jumping isn't great, and yet the game's still really fun. You have a variety of stages. It's pretty Star Wars-y. It doesn't feel overly unfair. It definitely could use a bit more polish, and it is a genuinely difficult game, and yet it is by far the easiest of the 3 Super Star Wars games, which is hilarious, but I mean it. It really is the easiest by far. I really do like how ambitious this game was, the trench run, even the annoying final Death Star sequence. But like, there is a lot of variety. There is so much care and effort. Does it always work? No, but it really does lay the groundwork for one of the best games I've ever played. Seriously, Super Empire Strikes Back. So if you want to see me talk about that game, please let me know. This video, by the way, was supposed to be all 3, but I guess I just have so much to say about Super Star Wars. I yapped about it for 45 minutes. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.